Open the goddamn gate, Vanessa! My voice cracked, raw from screaming into the intercom for the third time. Red and blue lights strobed across wet asphalt, painting everything in emergency colors, the ambulance idling 20 feet behind my pickup, the wrought iron gate that wouldn't budge, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. My son wasn't crying anymore. That silence was worse than any sound I'd heard in 10 years of firefighting. Marcus, you know the community guidelines? Vanessa's voice crackled through the speaker, slow and deliberate, like she was reading from a script. After 9 p.m., all gate access requires board authorization. No exceptions. My kid's not breathing. I slammed the button again, the plastic cracking under my palm. Open it now! The system's on lockdown protocol. I can't override without proper through the bars. I could see her standing there in the guard booth, hair perfect, clipboard tucked under her arm, rain beating on her designer raincoat like she'd stepped out of a catalog shoot instead of watching a child die. The paramedic ran up to my window, face urgent. "Sir, we need through immediately, every second." I know. My throat closed. I looked at Vanessa through the gate. "Please," she folded her arms. "Perhaps if you'd followed regulations about that equipment trailer parked on community property, we wouldn't have these enforcement issues. Rules exist for a reason, Marcus." The world tilted. Behind me, through my rear window, I could see my wife Emma in the back seat, holding our 3-year-old, Liam's little body limp against her chest. Her mouth open in a scream I couldn't hear over the rain and sirens. Vanessa didn't move, didn't even blink. That's when I remembered the excavator. I'd been using it for a drainage project that afternoon, parked near the community center, keys still in the ignition because I'd planned to move it first thing tomorrow. My boots hit the pavement before I'd consciously decided to run. The paramedic shouted something. Emma's scream cut through the rain. I sprinted across the wet grass, diesel smell hitting me before I even reached the machine. The excavator sat there, massive and yellow and perfect. I climbed into the cab, hands shaking as I fired the engine. The roar drowned out everything, the sirens, the shouting, the sound of my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. The gate loomed ahead, 10 feet of ornamental iron, powder-coated black. The community's pride and joy. $47,000 installed last spring, according to the newsletter Vanessa sent out monthly. I shoved the throttle forward. The first hit sounded like the world ending. Metal screamed. Something snapped with a crack that echoed off the houses. The second hit took the gate clean off its hinges. The excavator rolled through like it was paper. Behind me, the ambulance surged forward. Sirens wailing, tires spitting mud as it tore past toward my house 3 blocks in. I killed the engine and climbed down, legs nearly giving out. Vanessa stood by the ruins of her gate, rain plastering her carefully styled hair to her face. Her clipboard lay in a puddle, pages curling. She pointed at me with a trembling finger. "You just committed felony property destruction," she said, voice shaking but still carrying that same acid authority. "You'll regret this, Marcus." I stared back, chest heaving. "If my son dies because of you, I'll regret not doing it sooner." Police lights flared down the street, white and blue this time, adding to the chaos. The paramedics were already inside my house. I leaned against the excavator, mud soaking through my jeans, rain running down my face, watching Vanessa try to explain to the officers why an ambulance had to demolish its way into a gated community. Ever see someone so drunk on power they forget what power's actually for? What would you do if someone's clipboard cost you the minutes that could save your child? Let me back up and show you how a neighborhood turned into a battlefield. I moved to Ridgemont Springs, Arizona 3 years ago, thinking it would be different, quieter. The kind of place where Emma could take baby Liam for walks under the palm trees without checking over her shoulder every 30 seconds. After a decade with Phoenix Fire Department, 10 years of burning buildings and screaming families and bodies, I couldn't save I'd earned some peace. Now, I worked construction, mostly commercial foundations and drainage systems. Hard work. Honest work. The kind that let me sleep at night. Back then, the homeowners association seemed harmless. Strict, maybe, but reasonable. Vanessa Chen was already president, known for her attention to detail and her monthly newsletters printed on cream-colored cardstock. She smiled often. It never reached her eyes. The first time we met, she appeared on my porch the morning after we moved in, September 2021. Clipboard already out. "Welcome to Ridgemont Springs," she'd said, scanning our front yard like a sergeant inspecting barracks. "Just a few notes about aesthetic compliance. The paint on our mailbox was non-standard gray, needed to be replaced with approved colors within 30 days. Our doormat was excessively worn, new one required. The small Arizona flag Emma had hung by the door was unapproved decoration. Remove immediately. That was warning number 1. I just didn't know it yet. The harassment started small. A notice about our garbage cans being visible from the street, they needed to be stored in the garage. Another notice about my work truck, parked in the driveway overnight. Commercial vehicles weren't permitted in plain sight. Then the big one. My equipment trailer, parked along our property line, needed to be removed immediately or face daily fines. "It's an eyesore," Vanessa said when I challenged her at a board meeting. "This is a premium community, Marcus. We have standards. It's a trailer. For my job. Then park it at your job site." I needed here for morning pickups. She smiled that cold smile. "Then I guess you'll need to make adjustments." The fines started at $50 a day. By the third week, they'd escalated to $250 daily. My trailer stayed exactly where it was. That's when things got personal. Emma started finding notices on our door nearly every morning. Grass height violations despite our lawn service coming weekly. Roof discoloration, our tiles were tan, standard for every house on the street, but Vanessa claimed ours were notably faded. Holiday decoration violations, we'd put up Halloween decorations in October, but apparently they were 3 days too early according to some clause buried in Section 14, subsection C of the community guidelines. I ran into Tyler Morrison one morning while checking the mail. Tyler was a software engineer who lived 2 houses down, a quiet guy who mostly kept to himself. He was also on the HOA board, Vanessa's treasurer, according to the newsletters. "Hey, Marcus!" He glanced around like he was worried about being seen. "Look, about all those notices." "You mean Vanessa's harassment campaign?" Tyler winced. She takes her role seriously. She's targeting us, man. You know that." "I know." He looked genuinely uncomfortable. "But if I push back too hard, she'll make my life hell too. I've seen her do it to other people. I'm just trying to keep my head down." "So you're just going to let her do this?" "Marcus, I have a family too. I can't afford to." He stopped, shook his head. "Just try to work with her. It'll be easier." He walked away before I could respond. That conversation stuck with me. Tyler wasn't a bad guy. He was scared. And Vanessa had cultivated that fear deliberately, systematically, until everyone in Ridgemont Springs knew that crossing her meant war. The notices kept coming. Then came the meeting where Vanessa proposed new enhanced security measures, gate access logs, visitor restrictions, after-hours lockdown protocols. She stood at the front of the room in a cream Lululemon tracksuit, her ever-present clipboard resting on the podium. "These measures protect our community," she explained, voice smooth as polished stone. "We've had reports of unauthorized individuals using our facilities. Tighter control ensures resident safety. What about emergency access?" I asked from the back row. She turned to me, that smile sliding into place. "Emergency services have override codes, Marcus. Already verified with the gate company. And if something goes wrong? If the system malfunctions? The system is state-of-the-art. It won't malfunction. But if it does, it won't." She held my gaze. "Unless you have specific technical concerns beyond general opposition to community safety?" The room murmured. Someone near the front said something about always complaining. I sat back down, jaw clenched. Tyler caught me in the parking lot afterward. "You shouldn't challenge her in public meetings," he said quietly. "It just makes her double down. Someone needs to." "Yeah, well." He looked around again, that nervous habit. "Just be careful. Vanessa keeps records. Detailed records. And she knows how to use them." That should have been my second warning. 3 weeks later, Liam got sick. It started as a cough, the kind every parent recognizes from daycare season. Then came the fever. Emma called the pediatrician, who said, "Watch him closely, bring him in if it got worse." It got worse at 9:17 p.m. on a Tuesday in November 2024. Liam's breathing changed. Not the stuffy nose sound from earlier, but something different. Something wrong. His lips started turning blue. Emma screamed for me. I scooped him up, already moving, already thinking through protocols from my firefighter training. Check airway, check breathing, check circulation. His airway was partially blocked, croup, maybe, or worse. His breathing shallow and labored, circulation weak. We needed a hospital, now. I strapped him into his car seat while Emma climbed in back. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my keys. The community gate was our only exit. The back entrance was a mile of locked fencing that would take 20 minutes to navigate. I called 911 from the driveway, gave our address, told them to meet us at the community entrance. The ambulance was there in 4 minutes, lights already flashing, ready to transport the moment we got through the gate. Except the gate wouldn't open. I punched in our resident code. Error message. Tried again. Error message. Tried Emma's code. Error message. That's when I hit the intercom button. And that's when Vanessa's voice came through the speaker, calm and controlled and absolutely certain of her authority. "Marcus, you know the community guidelines. After hours access requires board authorization." I explained about Liam, about the ambulance, about the blue tint spreading across my son's face. She told me about the lockdown protocol. I begged. She mentioned my equipment violations, and that's when something inside me snapped clean through. The excavator sat 30 yards away, exactly where I'd left it that afternoon, after finishing a drainage project for the community center. Irony of ironies, a job Vanessa had hired me to do. Keys in the ignition, because I'd planned to move it first thing in the morning. I didn't think, didn't plan, just ran. The machine roared to life, diesel smoke belching into the rain. I had maybe 15 seconds of clarity where I understood exactly what I was about to do and exactly what it would cost me. Then I shoved the throttle forward, and that clarity burned away in pure, desperate action. The gate exploded. Metal shrieked. The ornamental scrollwork that Vanessa had personally selected from a catalog shattered like glass. The second impact tore the entire structure from its foundation. The ambulance was through before the debris stopped falling. I climbed down from the excavator and stood in the rain, watching Vanessa's perfect world crumble. Literally crumble. The gate lay in pieces, her clipboard ruined in the mud, her hair hanging in wet strings around her face. "You'll regret this," she said. I almost laughed. If my son dies, regret is the least of what I'll feel. The police arrived 6 minutes later. They found me sitting on the excavator's treads, covered in mud, watching the ambulance's taillights disappear toward the hospital. Vanessa was already talking to the officers, gesturing at the gate, at me, her voice rising and falling in that practiced cadence of righteous authority. I heard fragments. Felony destruction. Community. Property. Dangerous. Individual. History of violations. One of the officers walked over to me. Young guy, probably mid-20s, with the kind of freshly pressed uniform that said he hadn't been on the job long. "Sir, I need you to step down from the equipment." I climbed down slowly. My legs felt like water. "You want to tell me what happened here?" I told him. All of it. The sick kid, the locked gate, the ambulance waiting, Vanessa's refusal to override the system. He wrote it all down, expression carefully neutral. "You understand you destroyed HOA property?" "Yes. Private property destruction is a serious charge. My son wasn't breathing." Something flickered across his face. He glanced toward where the ambulance had disappeared, then back at me. "We'll need to take a statement. You'll probably be cited. But," he hesitated, "but given the circumstances, I'm going to recommend you not be arrested tonight. You should go be with your family." "Thank you. One more thing." He leaned in slightly. "That woman over there, she tried to tell me you were trespassing on community property when you accessed that excavator. I told her that in Arizona, emergency necessity is a legal defense for property damage. She didn't like that. I almost smiled. I bet she didn't. He walked away. I stood there in the rain for another minute, then climbed into my truck and drove through the gap where the gate used to be, following my son's ambulance trail to the hospital. Emma texted me when I was 5 minutes out. "Liam's stable. They've got him. He's breathing." I pulled over and cried, for the first time since my firefighter academy graduation. When they told us the survival statistics for structure fire victims, I'd learned then that some numbers are too heavy to carry. Tonight I'd learned that some numbers don't matter at all when it's your kid. Liam was alive. The gate was destroyed. Vanessa was furious. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. But as I sat there on the shoulder of the road, hands shaking, phone clutched tight, I understood something else too. This wasn't over. Vanessa Chen didn't forgive. She didn't forget. And she just lost control in the most public, humiliating way possible. War was coming. I just didn't know how bad it would get. Liam stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Severe croup that had rapidly progressed to respiratory distress. The doctor said if we'd arrived 15 minutes later, the outcome would have been very different. Emma barely left his side. I alternated between the hospital and home, catching sleep in chairs and trying to figure out how to handle what was coming. The citation arrived via certified mail on day 3. Criminal damage to property. Court date set for January 2025. Potential fine up to $10,000, plus restitution for the gate repair. That same afternoon, Vanessa scheduled an emergency HOA meeting. The email went out to every resident. Critical community safety discussion. Mandatory attendance strongly encouraged. Emma stayed at the hospital with Liam. I went alone. The community center was packed. Every chair filled. People standing along the walls. The energy felt charged, dangerous, like the moment before a wildfire crowns and jumps a fire line. I recognized most faces neighbors I'd waved to for 3 years, people whose names I knew, whose kids played with Liam at the community pool. Not one of them looked at me when I walked in. Vanessa stood at the front, clipboard present as always, wearing a navy pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. When she saw me, her smile could have cut glass. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," she began, voice carrying perfectly in the quiet room. "We're here to address a serious incident that threatens our community's security and property values." She clicked a remote. The projector screen lit up with photos of the destroyed gate, twisted metal, shattered stone pillars, muddy tire tracks from the excavator. "This is what happens when individuals decide community rules don't apply to them," Vanessa continued, "when personal convenience matters more than collective safety, when violence becomes the answer to minor inconvenience." My jaw clenched. Minor inconvenience. My son nearly dying was minor inconvenience. Marcus Reeves willfully destroyed $47,000 worth of community property, Vanessa said. He operated heavy machinery in a residential zone. He endangered residents and first responders with his reckless actions. And he did all of this, she paused for emphasis, because he didn't want to wait for proper emergency protocols. The murmurs started. I heard fragments, always complaining, never follows rules, dangerous. Tyler Morrison sat 3 rows ahead, staring at his hands. He wouldn't look at me. Vanessa pulled up another slide. Here's what the board proposes. Immediate installation of reinforced gates with biometric access. Enhanced security protocols with zero tolerance for override attempts. And she looked directly at me. Permanent revocation of gate access privileges for residents who demonstrate violent tendencies or willful property destruction. Someone near the front applauded. Others joined in. The sound felt like being buried alive. I stood up. My son wasn't breathing. The applause died. Vanessa's smile never wavered. Your son's medical emergency is regrettable, she said, but it doesn't justify criminal behavior. The gate wouldn't open. The ambulance was waiting. You wouldn't override the system. The lockdown protocol exists for security reasons. My 3-year-old's lips were turning blue. My voice cracked. He couldn't breathe, Vanessa. And you stood there talking about community guidelines while he was dying in my truck. The room went completely silent. Vanessa's expression didn't change. The system has emergency override codes. The paramedics should have had them. They couldn't get signal. They tried. Then perhaps you should have called ahead, made arrangements, followed proper protocol while my kid suffocates. I stepped into the aisle. You know what? I did follow protocol. Emergency protocol. Life over property. That's what they teach firefighters. That's what any decent human being knows instinctively. But you, I pointed at her, you were more concerned about your authority than a child's life. Someone in the back said, "He's got a point." Vanessa's jaw tightened. This meeting is about community safety, not personal attacks. Marcus, if you can't participate constructively, you're welcome to leave. Gladly. I headed for the door, then stopped, turned back. One more thing. That gate? I'd do it again. Every single time. And anyone here who says they wouldn't do the same to save their kid is either lying or broken inside. I walked out before anyone could respond. The parking lot was empty except for my truck. I sat behind the wheel for a long time, hands shaking again, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. My phone buzzed. Tyler, that took guts. But you just made everything worse. I stared at the message. Didn't reply. Started my truck and drove back to the hospital where my son was alive, and that was the only thing that mattered. But Tyler was right. I'd just declared war. And Vanessa Chen had resources. I didn't have money, authority, a community behind her. All I had was the knowledge that I'd done the right thing and the certainty that she'd make me pay for it. The question was how much. The fines started arriving daily. Failure to maintain property standards, $200. Unauthorized equipment storage, $500. Violation of community noise ordinances, $300 for running the excavator after 9 p.m., despite the fact that I'd been saving my son's life. Each notice printed on cream-colored cardstock, each one signed by Vanessa in her precise handwriting. By the end of week 1, I owed the HOA $3,400 in fines. Emma came home from the hospital with Liam on day 4. He was better breathing normally, color back, giggling when I tickled him. But Emma looked hollowed out, dark circles under her eyes, moving through the house like a ghost. "They're saying you might go to jail," she said quietly that night after Liam was asleep. "I'm not going to jail." Vanessa's lawyer sent a letter. They're pushing for maximum penalties. Restitution, plus criminal charges, plus... She handed me the envelope she'd been clutching. This. I opened it, saw the words emergency injunction and restraining order, and felt my stomach drop. Vanessa was seeking a court order to ban me from all community common areas, including the roads leading to my own house. She claimed I posed a danger to residents. The hearing was set for 2 weeks out. "She can't do this," I said. "She's doing it." Emma's voice cracked. "Marcus, we can't afford a lawyer." Not a real one. "And if they ban you from using the community roads, how do you even get home? How do we live here?" I didn't have an answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to Liam's breathing through the baby monitor, steady and clear and alive, and thought about Vanessa standing at that gate. Thought about her smile when she'd said, "Perhaps you should have called ahead." Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Tyler, can you meet me tomorrow morning?" 6 a.m. The old wash behind the community center. Come alone. I texted back. "Why?" "Because I think Vanessa's lying about something, and I think I can prove it." I stared at the message for a long time. Tyler had been silent since the meeting, hadn't defended me, hadn't spoken up. Now he was reaching out in the middle of the night with cryptic messages about proof. It could be a trap, could be Vanessa using him to gather more ammunition against me. But if there was even a chance he was telling the truth, "I'll be there," I sent back. The wash behind the community center was a dry creek bed that ran along the property line, hidden from the main roads by a stand of mesquite trees. I arrived at 5:55 a.m., truck headlights off, moving quietly through the pre-dawn dark. Tyler was already there, sitting on a boulder, laptop balanced on his knees. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Thanks for coming," he said. "What's this about?" He turned the laptop so I could see the screen. "The gate logs. I'm the HOA treasurer, remember? I have access to all financial records, maintenance logs, security systems, everything." "Okay." "The night your son got sick, Vanessa told everyone the gate malfunctioned, said it was a system error, nothing she could do." "Yeah." "That's what she said." She was lying. Tyler clicked through to a different screen. "Look at this. The gate system records every access attempt, every override code entry, every manual control activation. It's all timestamped." He zoomed in on a section highlighted in yellow. "At 9:14 p.m., 3 minutes before you arrived with the ambulance, someone manually disabled the emergency override protocols. Here." He pointed to a user ID code. "That's Vanessa's admin access." I stared at the screen. She intentionally locked the gate? Not just locked it. She disabled the emergency override that the paramedics would have used. Their codes wouldn't work because she turned off that function entirely. Why would she... I stopped. Thought about the equipment violations, the escalating fines, her smile when she'd mentioned my trailer. She was trying to teach me a lesson. More than that. Tyler pulled up another document. "Look at the board meeting minutes from 2 weeks before the incident. See this section? Vanessa proposed new security enhancement measures, but the board voted them down. She was pissed. Kept saying we needed a demonstration of necessity to justify the enhanced protocols. The pieces clicked together. She manufactured an emergency. She manufactured a crisis. Let the gate malfunction during a real emergency, then use the incident to push through her security measures. Except..." Tyler's voice dropped. "Except she didn't count on you having an excavator parked right there. She expected you to wait. Expected the delay to cause enough problems that she could use it as leverage. She gambled with my son's life. She gambled that your son would be okay. That the 15-20 minutes of delay wouldn't matter. That she could spin it as a tragic system failure that proved we needed her enhanced security. She didn't count on you destroying the gate. That wasn't part of her plan." I couldn't speak. The rage was too big, too hot, burning up all the oxygen in my lungs. "I have copies of everything," Tyler said. "Gate logs, meeting minutes, email chains where Vanessa discusses strategic enforcement opportunities. She's been planning this for months, Marcus, using compliance violations to punish people she doesn't like. And that night, I think she saw a chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, punish you, and push through her security measures. Why are you telling me this?" He looked at me dead on. "Because I have a daughter. She's 5. And if someone did to her what Vanessa did to your son, if someone used her medical emergency as a strategic opportunity, I'd want to know. I'd want proof. I'd want justice. Your job. Fuck my job." The profanity sounded strange coming from quiet, careful Tyler. I've been too scared for too long. Watching Vanessa hurt people and telling myself it wasn't my business. But this crossed a line, way over the line. She'll retaliate against you. Probably. But I can't sleep at night knowing what she did, knowing I kept quiet about it. He handed me a flash drive. Everything's on here. Gate logs, emails, meeting minutes, all of it. Take it to the police. Take it to a lawyer. Just do something. Because if we don't stop her now, she'll do it again. I took the flash drive. It felt heavier than it should. "Thank you," I managed. Tyler nodded. Started to leave, then turned back. "One more thing. Vanessa's not just corrupt. She's been embezzling HOA funds. I found discrepancies in the account's fake invoices, inflated maintenance costs, personal expenses charged to community budget. I've been documenting it, but I was waiting for the right time to bring it to the board." "How much?" "North of $80,000 over 3 years. I whistled. "That's federal. That's why she's so desperate to maintain control. If she loses the board presidency, someone else sees the books, figures out the embezzlement. She's looking at serious prison time." He met my eyes. "She's dangerous, Marcus. People who are cornered do desperate things. Watch your back." He disappeared into the mesquite trees, leaving me standing in the wash with the flash drive and the terrible knowledge of just how calculated Vanessa's cruelty had been. She hadn't just refused to help my son, she'd actively endangered him, used his medical crisis as a tactical opportunity, and she'd done it all with that same cold smile. I drove straight to the police station. Detective Sarah Kwan listened to my story without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, I pushed the flash drive across her desk. Tyler Morrison compiled all of this. Gate logs showing Vanessa manually disabled, emergency overrides. Meeting minutes showing premeditation. Email chains discussing strategic enforcement and evidence of embezzlement, $80,000 plus over 3 years. Kwan plugged the flash drive into her computer. Spent 20 minutes clicking through files, her expression growing harder with each screen. "This is detailed," she said finally. "Tyler's thorough. He'll need to testify. We can't use this evidence without him confirming its authenticity and explaining the technical aspects." "He's willing." Kwan sat back, tapping her pen against the desk. "Here's where we are. The criminal damage charge against you, given this new evidence about Vanessa intentionally disabling emergency systems, we can probably get that dismissed or reduced to citation level. Emergency necessity defense is strong when someone's deliberately created the emergency. What about Vanessa? Reckless endangerment at minimum. Possibly criminally negligent homicide if we can prove she understood the medical severity. The embezzlement is clearer, that's wire fraud, theft, misappropriation of funds. Financial crimes with this kind of paper trail are prosecutors' dreams. How long to build a case? 2, maybe 3 months if we move fast. We'll need to interview witnesses, subpoena HOA records, verify the digital evidence. Vanessa will lawyer up immediately, so this won't be quick. But, Marcus?" She looked at me directly. "We'll get her. This is prosecutable. This is serious. And I don't like people who gamble with kids' lives." I felt something unclench in my chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Vanessa Chen has money and connections. She'll fight this hard. In the meantime, you need to be careful. People facing this kind of exposure sometimes do reckless things." Tyler's warning echoed. "She's dangerous. People who are cornered do desperate things. I'll watch my back. Do more than that. Document everything. Keep records. If she contacts you, record it. Arizona's a one-party consent state. If she threatens you, report it immediately. And Marcus, keep your son close. If Vanessa realizes we're building a case, she might try to spin this as you being an unfit parent. Anything to undermine your credibility." I left the police station with Detective Kwan's card in my pocket and a sick feeling in my stomach. The investigation would take months. The restraining order hearing was in 12 days, and Vanessa still controlled the HOA, the gate access, the community I lived in. The war had started, but I wasn't sure I was winning. The next HOA meeting happened 3 days later. This time, I brought backup. Detective Kwan couldn't attend officially active investigation, meant she had to stay clear. But Tyler showed up, along with Emma, along with 6 other neighbors who'd apparently had enough of Vanessa's reign. The meeting room felt different. Tension crackling like static before a lightning strike. Vanessa stood at the front in another designer pantsuit, clipboard ready, but her smile was strained. She knew. Somehow she knew I'd gone to the police. "Tonight's agenda," she began, but I stood up before she could continue. "Point of order." Her jaw tightened. "Marcus, unless you're community members, have the right to raise points of order. It's in the bylaws. Section 7, subsection C." She blinked. I'd quoted her own regulations back at her. "Fine. What's your point?" "I move that the board conduct an immediate financial audit of HOA accounts. Independent auditor. Full review of the past 3 years. Results presented to all community members." The room went dead silent. "That's not." Vanessa started. "It's absolutely within community member rights," Tyler said, standing. "I second the motion." Vanessa's face went white, then red. This is highly irregular. Actually, it's perfectly regular, said Mrs. Patterson, a retired accountant who lived on Mesquite Drive. She stood up, holding a printed copy of the HOA bylaws. Any community member can request an audit with a second. The board is required to comply within 30 days. Unless there's a compelling reason not to, Vanessa said quickly, which I'm invoking. The board has full confidence in our current financial... I don't. Tyler's voice cut across hers. As HOA treasurer, I formally request an independent audit. There are discrepancies I can't explain. Professional review is necessary. The bomb had dropped. Everyone heard it. Vanessa stared at Tyler like he'd grown a second head. You're voting against me? I'm voting for transparency. After everything I've done for you? After I appointed you treasurer? Which is why I can see the books, Tyler's voice stayed level, and why I'm concerned about what I found. The room erupted. People shouting questions, demanding explanations, Vanessa's smile finally cracking completely as she lost control of the narrative. This is a witch hunt, she snapped. Marcus Reeves is manipulating people because he's angry about legitimate consequences for his violent behavior. You disabled the emergency gate override, I said, cut clean through her rant. You manually shut down the system that would have let the ambulance through. And you did it 3 minutes before I arrived with my dying son. Everyone went silent again. That's absurd, Vanessa said. It's documented. Tyler held up his laptop. Gate access logs. Timestamped. Your admin code. Those logs are confidential. Those logs are evidence of reckless endangerment. Detective Kwan's voice came from the doorway. She walked in, badge visible on her belt. And they're now part of an active criminal investigation. Vanessa went still. Criminal investigation? Marcus Reeves filed a complaint 3 days ago. Reckless endangerment. Evidence tampering. And based on information provided by Tyler Morrison, she nodded to Tyler. We're also investigating financial crimes, embezzlement, wire fraud, misappropriation of HOA funds. The room exploded again. Vanessa tried to speak, but her voice was drowned out. People shouting about the gate, about missing money, about years of petty violations and harassment. Mrs. Patterson stood up. I move for immediate removal of Vanessa Chen as HOA president pending investigation results. Seconded, said 3 people simultaneously. This is illegal. Vanessa's voice cracked. You can't just remove me. Emergency removal is permitted under Section 12 for board members under criminal investigation, Mrs. Patterson read from the bylaws. Especially for crimes involving community funds or resident endangerment. All in favor? Every hand went up except Vanessa's. Motion carries, Mrs. Patterson said. Vanessa Chen, you're removed from the HOA board effective immediately. Please surrender all community access codes, keys, and documents. Vanessa stood there, mouth open, clipboard clutched to her chest like a shield. The power she'd wielded for years had evaporated in 60 seconds. This isn't over, she said. Voice shaking. I'll fight this. I'll sue every single one of you for defamation. Ma'am, Detective Kwan stepped forward. I need you to come with me. We have questions about the gate incident and the financial records. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but we'd like your voluntary cooperation. Unless you'd prefer we obtain a warrant? Vanessa's lawyer, who'd been sitting silently in the back, finally stood up. Don't say anything, Vanessa. We're leaving. They walked out together, Vanessa's heels clicking on the tile like a countdown clock. The room stayed silent until the door closed. Then, everyone started talking at once. Tyler sat down next to me, looking pale but determined. That was terrifying. That was necessary. She's going to destroy me. She's going to prison. I said, Detective Kwan has everything. The gate logs alone are enough for reckless endangerment. The embezzlement evidence is ironclad. She's done, Tyler. I hope you're right. I am. And you did the right thing. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I just wish I'd done it sooner. before your son almost died." I didn't have a response to that. We sat together in the chaos of the meeting, watching the community process what had just happened, knowing that everything had changed and nothing would ever be the same again. The investigation moved faster than Detective Kwan predicted. The gate logs were damning, the emails worse. Tyler's testimony about the embezzlement scheme opened up a federal case. Vanessa was arrested 2 weeks later on charges of reckless endangerment, evidence tampering, wire fraud, and theft exceeding $75,000. Bail set at $100,000. Her face on the news that night, looking small and shocked and finally powerless. The criminal damage charge against me was dropped. Emergency necessity defense plus evidence of deliberate sabotage made prosecution impossible. The civil suit from the HOA dissolved when the new board led by Mrs. Patterson voted to waive all restitution demands. "You saved a life, Mrs." Patterson told me. "That gate was insured, and frankly, it needed to be replaced anyway. Vanessa's taste was always more expensive than practical." The community changed after that. Slowly at first, then faster. New rules about emergency access manual, override, always available, no lockdown protocols that superseded life safety, financial transparency, monthly reports, open books, independent audits annually, and somehow, people started talking to each other again. Without Vanessa's constant surveillance, without the fear of violations and fines, the neighborhood relaxed into something that felt like community. Tyler stayed on as treasurer, dedicated to fixing the financial mess Vanessa had created. We became genuine friends, not just neighbors, but the kind of friends who'd been through fire together. Emma and I rebuilt, slowly. The trauma of that night didn't disappear, but it faded. Liam grew stronger, healthier, completely unaware of how close we'd come to losing him. The trial was set for April 2025. Detective Kwan assured me the case was solid. Federal prosecutors were especially interested in the embezzlement, financial crimes, leave paper trails, and Vanessa had left a highway. But there was one more thing I needed to do. 6 months after that terrible night, I stood at the community entrance watching construction crews install the new gate. Simple design, quick release emergency override, manual backup system. Signs clearly posted, "Emergency vehicles have priority access, no exceptions." The excavator I'd used that night sat on my property now. I'd bought it from the rental company, wanted to keep it as a reminder. Some nights I'd sit in the cab with a beer and think about choices and consequences and the razor-thin line between what's legal and what's right. Tyler walked up, hands in pockets. "New gate looks good." "Yeah." Vanessa's lawyer is trying to negotiate a plea. "Sounds like she's facing 8 to 12 years. "Good." We watched the construction crew work. The foreman, a guy I knew from other job sites, waved. I waved back. "You ever regret it?" Tyler asked. "Destroying the gate?" "Not for a second. Even with all the trouble it caused?" I thought about Liam at breakfast that morning, laughing at his cartoons, breathing easy and clear and alive. If I hadn't done it, my son would be dead. Everything else, the arrest, the fines, the stress, all of that is worth it. Because he's here. Because he gets to grow up. Tyler nodded. "I would have done the same thing. I know. That's why you came forward. That's why you risked everything to expose her. We both chose what mattered over what was easy. You think the community learned anything from this? I think they learned that rules without humanity are just cruelty with paperwork. I think they learned that authority needs accountability. And I think they learned that sometimes the right thing looks illegal until you understand why someone did it." The new gate was finished by sunset. Clean lines, good engineering. Most importantly, emergency override prominent and accessible. I drove through it that evening, heading home to my family, and felt the last piece of tension finally ease. The gate opened smoothly. No codes needed, no authorization required, just free passage home, the way it should have been all along. Epilogue Vanessa Chen pled guilty to reckless endangerment and wire fraud in June 2025. Sentenced to 9 years federal prison, 3 years supervised release, full restitution of embezzled funds, plus damages. Her lawyer tried to spin it as a tragic misunderstanding. The judge wasn't buying. "You deliberately disabled life safety systems," Judge Morrison said at sentencing. "You gambled with a child's life to prove a point about authority, and you stole from the community you claim to serve. These are not the actions of someone who made mistakes. These are the actions of someone who valued power over people." I attended the sentencing with Emma. We didn't speak to Vanessa. Didn't need to. Justice was being served. Tyler rebuilt the HOA's finances and eventually ran for board president, won by a landslide. Turned out people actually wanted competent, honest leadership instead of authoritarian control. Ridgemont Springs became the neighborhood I'd originally hoped for. Quiet, safe. The kind of place where kids could play without parents worrying, where neighbors helped each other, where rules served people instead of controlling them. And sometimes, late at night, I'd sit on my porch with a beer and look at the new gate, smooth and functional and designed for safety, and think about the night everything changed. The night I chose my son over compliance. The night the excavator roared to life. The night the gate came down and justice started climbing through the rubble. Some people called me a hero. Some called me a criminal. I didn't care about either label. I was just a father who did what fathers do when their children are in danger. Whatever it takes, and I'd do it again, every single time. The end.